Alrighty, welcome on in. It's college football tonight, right here, right now. So, we welcome you to college football tonight. We are talking about all of today's great action that we had for you guys today, and let's get right into it. All right, we're starting in the early slots when with the Iowa Hawkeyes. Yeah, I mean, really, nothing good going for them heading into today's game. In Iowa, showed up well. I mean, it was it was a good game for Iowa, and really their quarterback Spencer Petras was good today. Um, but I mean, you gotta expect it. They played bad in the first two games, and they had to show up today. All right, another game, big noon Saturday in the Pac-12. And it was Arizona State USC. I don't know how Arizona State possibly choked the game away, but they did. And I feel so bad for Sun Devils fans. But you guys lost. A heartbreaker. I really don't know what to tell you. All right. All right. Um, sorry, guys. Michigan. Just an absolute atrocity of the performance they put on today. It was terrible. It was just a game where they just got destroyed. I mean, Indiana took a huge lead, and Michigan just couldn't. They didn't finish the game any better than they started. All right. Any other games? Texas, of course, getting the win in the early window of play. Northwestern getting the win. They're 3-0 now in the Big Ten. Let's move on to the middle of the day. We had Florida, Georgia. I mean, a lot of people said Georgia's going to win this game. I disagreed. I said Florida, and lo and behold, Florida is the winner. And guess what? I'm right once again about college football. I'm losing the picking right now, so I don't know if I can really say much. All right, so we're moving to the game on FS. No, no, moving to the ABC game. It was a big domination for Cincinnati. I mean, we kind of expected that. Maryland, shocker, big win over Penn State today. And let's get into our three winners of the day. We'll get to the rest of our games in just a moment, but I want to get into the three winners right now. Iowa winning big time after terrible performances in their first two games. I don't like giving a winner to Iowa just because it's usually bad when I give winners to teams. So Indiana, certainly their top 10 team right now with the way they played so far. I mean, Penn State isn't that good right now, so take it for what it's worth. But Indiana, I mean, they just looked dominant today. And Maryland, It was they made the Penn State defense look so bad. A lot of credit to the coaching staff at Maryland. All right. Let us move on to the rest of our games. And those include K-State against Oklahoma State, and it was Oklahoma State surviving. It was terrible. They were down big, like 12-0, 12-3 maybe, in this one, and they came back to win it. Big win there. We had Iowa State taking on Baylor in prime time. Iowa State had a big deficit. They came back, won it by 7. Good win for Iowa State. They control their own destiny to the Big 12 championship. Still to beat Texas, still have to beat a few other teams, but they should be able to get there if they keep playing like they did today against Baylor. I mean, Baylor's not that good, but you know what I'm saying. Move on. Stanford big win. Or Stanford big loss. I don't know what I just said. Oregon big win. A&M big win. But I think that's pretty much all of the games that mattered. We had BYU a big win last night. Ohio State just dominant over Rutgers today. And I think we're just going to move on to this big game. Clemson, Notre Dame. It was an absolute classic in South Bend. Notre Dame they came back from a big deficit late in the game. They had a big lead. They blew it. Then they came back to force overtime. It would eventually go to second overtime. And then the defense comes up big for Notre Dame. I want to say Notre Dame's a good team, but a lot of this was the atmosphere in South Bend that not a lot of other teams have got this season. Notre Dame, I mean, that stadium looked pretty full. Don't tell me that was some tiny percentage, because there are a lot of people there. There just was. So it was a great game. It was, especially the ending, it was very great to watch, except for the replay reviews. There were way too many of those. And I really hope that they clean that stuff up before we get to the championship weekend. Certainly these two teams will be back at it again, and I believe North Carolina. I think that's where they're playing the ACC championship. Clemson, they fall, and I think when you look at Clemson right now, it's that they just need a spark. They really do not have. If Trevor Lawrence were to go down later in the season, they just do not have the firepower to make up for his absence. And I think they're going to need him going forward here in 2020. But I do think there were improvements in other spots. I think they played a lot better this week than they did against Boston College. And these two teams should be playing once again in the ACC championship. I think both teams have a case to get to the playoff. Clemson certainly will fall from number 1, but where does Notre Dame fit into this? I don't think they're number 1. I don't think they're as good as Alabama. I would put Alabama number 1, Ohio State 3, Notre Dame 2, and Clemson 4 after this. I think Notre Dame passes Ohio State, but they don't pass Bama. And of course, we still are waiting for those first real rankings from the committee, which I believe will come out on the 24th of November. So we still have 2 more college football Saturdays before those rankings come out. They'll come out for like 4 times. There'll be 4 weeknight ranking shows and then that selection show on the 20th to get to see who's in the playoff on the 1st of January 2021, the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl, and that is not the biggest gap of time. That's how it should be really every year. Is you should find out on. So after they find out who they're playing, it's going to be 12 days to get to that championship or to the semifinals, which are playing on a Friday. I think they'll have the championship on January 11th. So it's 10 days between the semifinals and championship. And it's 12 days between selection day and the semifinals. So gotta keep that in mind because it's going to be a different process than years past. And I think this benefits a team like Ohio State, which has veteran leadership. It's not going to rely so heavily on the coaching staff because you don't have enough time. You don't really have as much time to coach preparing for these semifinals, which we've seen so much great preparation from teams like Clemson and Bama for these semifinal games. And it kind of isn't quite there for the championship sometimes for some of these teams. But those semifinals, you get like a month usually to prepare. You would play your championship game the beginning of December, and then you play your game at the end of December. And I don't like how they did that. And it used to be that you didn't play until the championship game in like late in the first week of January, and that was even worse. It's like, yeah, they hadn't played college football in forever. And I think this year, I like this process a lot better. Does this change how we structure the college football calendar? I think certainly it's possible that it's considered maybe not as late into December, but maybe a week or two. Just because I think we can really see that it's gonna work. All right, that'll do it for us. Again, our winners of the day: Iowa, Indiana,